What's up, guys? And shout out to all the fans here. Remember, guys, you can hit me up on my YouTube channel here, Christine Productions. If you want to donate to my Cash App, be sure to click on the green dot here and support my channel. And shout out to all you supporters out there. Also, you can go ahead and check out Christine Productions .webstar.com. If you want to check out the latest dancehall, reggae, hip hop. We have some Afro soca. Want to learn how to mix pro soca as well? You can go on my website, link in the description here. Mixing pro soca in the box. Just go on that takeyourfit.com. Click on buy now. And also, of course, if you guys want me to mix and master professional services for you, contact me at Christine Production 501 at gmail.com. So what I'm going to talk about here is compression. How far is too far? That's right. So let's just jump right into this track here. And we're gonna wheel and come again. Here we go. And welcome to the show, guys. I am your mixing engineer host, Andrew Rayburn here, and today is a very special topic here. I know a lot of producers sometime they may struggle with compression here. So we're talking about compression. How far is too far? It doesn't matter what type of compressor you use. This technique I'm going to show you how to understand the plugin here, and also to set your settings so that your compressor controls and breathe and give you that special sound. You want to keep that tone natural, but whether you're going for, let's say you're going for maybe you want some punchy drums, maybe you want to get a more subtle control. I'm going to show you how do we get to that, how far is too far, so you don't mess up your mix here. So without further ado, let's get right down into it here. So I'm going to go into this track here that I built here. I'm going to play the track. Come on. So we got some instruments going here. We got a couple of sounds, and I'm going to talk about different the different compression that we're using here to get these sounds going here. Shout out to Five Fine, by the way. This microphone that you see, I'm at a good distance here, and it's tracking me very well. So shout out to Five Fine for the A6T. I dig the colors of the lights as well. So let's cut down to the sound, and let's see what we have here. Now, as I mentioned before, guys, you want to make sure that the compressor is controlling the dynamics. I'm going to teach you about the ratio and what it does. So let's dive into the track and see the elements that we're using, mostly compression in this track to give it a vibe here. So let's see what we got. So I have that. I have some bass going here. for getting a punchy sound here. So I'm going to show you a little bit of trick how to get this thing going here. Now, let's start off with the rhythm section here. So I'm going to go down straight to the drums here. Now check this out. Now, in order for the compressor to work and what you say breathe with the track, you got to make sure the signal that is going to it is having that authentic frequency. Meaning, if you look at my EQ here, I'm boosting some bottom end here because we need that thump. We need a thick kick on the low end so the compressor can catch those frequency and control it. If the kick drum did not have the bottom end frequency, the compressor would not be reacting to that very well. So that is why EQ goes hand in hand, guys. If you don't do anything, compression is very important, but EQ is the Swiss Army knife. So I'm going to take off. I'm going to show what I'm using here. I'm using the C1 from Waves here. I'm using some basic compressor and a little bit of analog compression here, but the teaching I'm going to teach you is the same. So here we go here. I have the EQ and I have the C1. Now, watch what happens when I take off the EQ and I leave the compression on it. Not getting as much low end on that. Now I'm going to turn on the EQ here. Now what I want you to do, check out the yellow light. What I'm doing, I'm using the C1 to expand here rather than I'm expanding here rather than compressing the kick. And I'm going to show you an additional compression along with this to control kick here. So I'm expanding the signal. Why I'm doing that is the kick drum is lacking that snap. You want it to sound like the kick drum is hitting here. Without the EQ, guys, and without the C1 compressor slash the compressor slash gate. Check out the sounds. I'm not getting that punchy, snappy sound, and I'll be lost in the rhythm here, even if I bring in the bass. But if I bring in back the compression and the expander and the EQ, check this out. I'm getting that snappy sound back here. So let's get into it here. So what do we do, Ray? You might say. Now, of course, the first thing I did, I went to the EQ. So I'm boosting the bottom end here. On the kick here, I'm gonna let's see if I can turn off on these little mountains here that I have on the EQ. I'm gonna turn off the bottom end as well. Here we go. Now you can hear that the kick drum is very lacking. It doesn't have a bottom end here, and we need that low end to come to life here. So we're going to go into the EQ here. So this is the first thing I did here. We're preparing the kick drum to send the right signal to the compressor or the expander, so we can control the dynamics here and add vibe to the rhythm here. It's very key thing here. So I'm adding the bottom end here. I'm boosting about 4 dB at 46 kilohertz here, and then I'm boosting a little bit 2K here, and I'm creating another mountain here about 7 dB at 5K. And I'm boosting 783 at 6 dB here. Now at this point you may say, Ray, this kick sounds boxy. Yes, you might be right, but in the mix it sounds fabulous here. Now keep an eye on the expander light here. Let me bring up the screen and watch the signal as I bypass and unbypass the signal that is going through the EQ, the frequency that we're boosting here. This is why it's important, because the compressor and expander react to signals, so we need to make sure that the bottom end is controlled and we're getting that punchiness here. So let's check it out. I'm going to take off the EQ. I'm not getting as much. The yellow light is not going up, indicating it's expanding the low frequency, because it's not reading, the kick was lacking the low frequency here. So check it out when I kick back in that EQ here. And now we're getting that punchiness here. You might say, okay, Ray, what happened if you just use a compressor? So let's go ahead and pull up a compressor here. Now, real quick, compression is what controls the signal or the dynamic of an instrument or sound, even vocals. It can be anything, percussions, guitars, whatever, bass. When the signal exceeds a certain limit here, the compressor pushes it back down. Now, a limiter reacts similar, but when the signal hits a ceiling, the limiter holds it right there. It doesn't control it and push it back down. The compressor is breathing. That's why they say compressor is breathing with the signal. It holds it and works with it, but the limiter just cuts that top. But we're not talking about limiters, we're talking about compression here. So these are the basic controls here that you will typically see on a compressor. The ratio is how hard that compressor is going to work. The higher the ratio, the more the compressor is going to smash that signal. And then we have the threshold here, which indicates where you want that cutoff point, or where you want that compressor to start to push back down the signal here. So you might adjust that to taste. And of course, the third one, the third and fourth, which is the attack. Attack determines how the compressor is going to attack the signal. They call it a fast attack. Faster attack actually makes the signal sound softer. Slow attack actually makes the signal sound more natural. And then, of course, we have the release here, which determines how fast the compressor is going to release the signal. Hope that makes sense. So let's play around with that here. So I'm going to go to that 2-to-1 here. And normally, if you go above 2-to-1, let's say 3-to-1, you're kind of going in limiting mode here. The compressor becomes a limiter. So I'm going to set a bit of 2-to-1 here to control what's going on here. I'm going to bring down the threshold here, and I can see that indicator here, that little yellow line going down here. Now, how far is too far? That's like literally squashing the signal there. That's literally squashing the signal here. Now it's on a slow release here. You see the signal's barely getting through. It's suffocating here. I'm gonna put the release back to fast. Attack is if you want to soften the signal here, I can pull it down more. It's gonna even crush the signal more. So I'm doing some fast attack here. Let's switch it to slow mode here. I'm gonna ease up. So you want to play between, a little bit of mid timing with the attack. That's how you set these compressors. Let it breathe here. Now the kick drum is getting compressed. I'm getting that pumpy sound, but it's not punchy. Now watch what happens when I take off the compressor. It retains back the volume. No, don't be fooled, guys, by the volume here. Let's set the compressor to be at the same level of the original sound. That enables you to don't fool your ears, trick your ears to think, okay, it sounds better with the compressor off. That's why we have the compensate here. So I'm going to go and adjust the signal here. Let's go to the makeup gain right here. I'm going to go and boost the volume here. Let's go ahead and do that. So it sound as loud as the signal without the compressor. Okay, right about 4 dB there. Now listen to the difference here. This is no compression. This is compression. It's getting smashed. And in the song, with the bass here, I'm not really hearing that kick well. It's not translating here. Compressor off. It sounds a little bit more present, but I'm still lacking that punch. So that is the reason why I didn't use the compressor to control the signal, because it will be taking away the kick drum. Basically, when you're assessing the signal here, assessing the instrument, the kick drum was lacking low end. We added low end with the EQ, but it was lacking punchiness. Even though we have boosted a low end, we're still not getting that punch. That's why we went to expander here. So I'm going to kick in the C1 here. Here we go. Now I'm getting that punchiness here. And you can hear that kick right there with that bass. Let's go to another instrument real quick. Here is the drums. Now what am I doing with the drum here? So I'm basically teaching you guys two extra tricks here. I'm teaching you how to use an expander to expand the signal rather than be compressed. You're getting a little bit more punch, along with using compression here, which I'm going to show you also on the other instrument here. So the snare drum here, let's see what I did, why I did what I did here. So I'm going to go down to the, I have the EQ here. That's the EQ I'm using here. I'm using a stock EQ. Just to show you guys, sometimes you don't need that big UAD stuff. UAD is awesome, waves are awesome, but it doesn't mean that your mix is going to sound bad. You got to make sure you train your ears, and you can get some high professional sound with stock plugs. Now, I personally use waves and other plugins along with stock because it likes the certain tonality and a certain texture of these sounds. But we're not going to get into that today. We're talking about compression. How far is too far, and this will help you guys so your mix, the life, don't get sucked out of your mix with compression here. So the first thing we did here, let's turn off the chain. I'm going to go here. I'm going to play the snare drum by itself. This snare drum was lacking low end. We needed some low end on the snare drum. Don't be afraid to boost. So I'm going to bring in the EQ here. Here we go. And once again, I'm boosting about 500 here, and 110 to get a little more weight. You might say, Ray, the snare is sounding boxy. Yes, but in the mix, it's sounding fabulous. So let's get into it here. So I'm gonna bring in the kick drum here, bass line. Still was lacking that punch. So what we did, we used the expander here. Now I'm going to show you how I set the expander itself. I'm trying not to take too long on these subjects. I don't want to overlook these techniques here. pull up the. Now on the C1 here, you might see it says C1/EXP. That stands for expander. So I'm gonna kick that in. I'm actually reversing here. If I take the ratio down, take the ratio down. Now it's getting compressed. As you can hear, it's getting squashed. The life is getting sucked out of it. And we don't want that. So I'm going to reverse the ratio here. And you can hear I'm getting more of that punch that we were talking about here. Now let's see how it sounds with the kick drum. And you can see, guys, how important it is for you to make sure you're adding weight and good balance to the signal before it hits the compressor. It makes a big difference. How the chain is arranged, whether you EQ before or after the compression. Make sure that the compressor is reading. If you want punchy kick, make sure there's some bottom end down there and top end as well. So we have that. Let's get to the bass guitar. Let's see what we did to get that bass guitar. Come on. Come on. Do it. Ever. Now, I'm running the CLA 3A here, and I'm just doing a EQ and a compression here, and which is the basic ingredients, of course, because I want to make sure that I'm getting that thick bass. So let's see what I did here with this track. So I'm going to turn off the chain for the bass here. Here we go. Here's the bass. Let's see how that sounds with the kick drum. Now the bass is getting lost. So it's vice versa here. So what did I do? The bass sounded great, but there was some low end lacking here. So first thing I went for was the EQ. You might say, Ray, you shouldn't be boosting with the EQ. There's no rules, guys. Remember what I taught you guys. If the instrument is lacking a sound, it needs more bass. Volume alone is not enough. Don't be afraid to boost and get a good balance. So that's what I did here. I'm boosting 110 and I'm boosting about 2K at 5 dB. Off, on. So I'm getting a little bit more weight on that drum. You know, this bass have a catchy groove line here. Now I'm gonna put on the CLA 3A here. Now I'm really getting that punch. I'm getting volume and I'm getting that punch here. Let's see what it sounds like with the drums here. Now, if you take a look here, the CLA 3A, it does all that it has is a peak reduction, which is the threshold. And for this compressor, there's a gain here, which is the input. So how do you set it? I told you guys look out for ratio. And well, this one here is modeled after the analog. So you got to use the input to increase the signal into the compressor, and it has an automatic release. And if you can see here, I can switch it to limiter or compressor mode, which I was telling you earlier that limiter basically just cuts off the signal. The compressor mode rides with it. So you got to play with the input and the gain reduction here to let that needle hit the right amount of compression. Now, how far is too far? Let's see what we do. Let's see what happens if we take a little bit and do some more heavy compression here. Now that's really too far there. I'm gonna ease up. As you can see, the needle is compressing about 3 dB here. Let's see what else we got in the sound here. Now check this out. I'm using CLA 76 here. So what I'm doing here, as you can see, we have the controls here on the CLA 76, which is one of my favorite compressor for many of the artists that I've mixed for. This compressor does wonders. What I have here, I'm having the release here. Sometimes these compressors have these settings in reverse. For example, the CLA 76, you want to have a fast release, you got to turn it to the right side. And if you want to slow, you got to turn it to the left. So other compressors, you might have to go to the left side and the right, vice versa. So what I'm doing here, I'm compressing about 3 dB. If I want more compression, compression here, I'm going to drive the input here. Let's go ahead and do that. Now even here, it's getting a little bit more squash, but it has still a little bit more power and punch, so we can still use that. That's still a good mileage there. But we want that sound to back up a little bit behind the vocals. So I'm going to bring back down what we did here. I'm going to reverse that. So that's what I'm doing with that sound there. I'm adding a little bit of EQ just to get a little bit of top end on this sound. EQ off. EQ on. And let's go down to the synthesizer here, and then we're going to close off the video. Now I have a kind of a little bit of timpani sound here that I'm putting in there. And I'm using the DBX, let's see what we got, a DBX 160. Very useful compressor when it comes to, if you want that sound to sound like somebody's hitting that instrument a little bit extra hard. This is where DBX 160 comes in. Here we go. That's before. After. How did we do that? We have a ratio here of about 2 to 1, and I have the threshold here. You're starting to see these controls coming back. You're familiarizing yourself with these controls of the compression. As long as you study the ratio, the threshold, the attack, and the release, or if it's analog, study the input and the peak reduction. You can learn how to set these compressors here. So that's what I'm doing to get that sound here. I have a little bit of SSL, adding a little bit of bottom end on the EQ by itself here. Off, on. I'm adding that bottom end because I want the compressor to pick up that bottom end there. So remember that, guys. And I have a synthesizer here, which I'm using the CLA 2A here to tackle this. And and it sounded nice and punchy and natural. That's what I love about these analog plugs. I'm gonna turn off the CLA 2A here. Kind of getting lost. I'm gonna turn it back on. And like what I told you earlier, we have the gain here, which you're going to use that to input the signal here, and the peak reduction here. Here's a little knob here that's flat. This adjusts how much of that signal. Now, imagine the analog compressor has a built-in EQ. If I adjust the flat knob and turn it to the right and the left, it determines how much of the signal is going to grab on the top end frequency and the low end here. So check this out. I go to flat, it's compressing more. Check this out, I'm going to turn it again. There's the left. It's compressing less. So as you can see, guys and girls, I'm not doing this for fun. It's not for the way how the compressor UI looks. These compressors and these, you know, they're actually doing something with the signal. They're making it authentic. They're giving it a little bit more enhancement. We want to enhance. We don't want to change the sound of the production or a specific artist, unless they ask you to mess around or change the whole thing. But you want to enhance. That's what they're paying you to do. Enhance and give them the best. So that's what I'm doing there. And let's see, on the vocal here, all I'm doing here is adding the R compressor here. Is another type of compressor here. I'm adding a ratio of about 2 to 1. I'm having a balance, a medium attack here. To grab the signal just in time, and then I have a fast release and a little bit of threshold here. So I'm basically doing that just so she can have the same volume that she's singing. Come on and do it, and you know, let's go. It's on a balanced level here, and I'm doing a little bit of EQ just to add that bottom end. Here it goes again. We needed that bottom end for this compressor. Now, am I saying every time you do a mix, you gotta boost the bottom end to use a compressor? No, but this vocal, it needed some bottom end. Obviously, this entire dancehall track right here needed a lot of bottom end on the drum section and on the vocal. That's what I have, you know, observed, and that's what I'm doing the treatment here. If I turn off the compressor here, sounding low. I'm gonna turn on back the compressor here. And I'm gonna stop there, guys. Remember, if you want to get an extra, get that sound, you can get my services here. Catch you guys on the next one.